Thank you very much. So, folks, you are welcome, everyone. You are welcome to the Global Day of Action. This is the first webinar as far as this year's GDA is concerned, and we're excited to have you this year. Now, this is something we have been doing over the past years. Last year, we had a section on composting, and Loretta and team played a very crucial role. She's here, and we appreciate your effort. This year, we are going to look at plastic pollution, and we've just organized a lot of experts to do this section with us so that we can learn, interact, and network with young people within this space. And this year, as I said, we are going to mobilize young people just like you in over 87 countries that we work with to just take this action. I'll tell you more about the Global Day of Action soon. Now, let's go on. Okay, so you want to know more about QS Impact. So QX Impact is a charity registered in UK and Wales. I'm in a global charity, of course. So it means that if you are part of us, it means that you are part of QX Impact. Now, what it means is that we are working with over 6,000 youths around the world and in over 87 countries. Now, it will interest you to know that our work is, what we do is accredited by the United Nations Environmental Program. And for that matter, our team and other young people who are wanting to attend the United Nations Environmental Program at any time can get in touch with us, and then we can see the way forward. Our work is focused mainly on, skills for young people. So what we do is that we provide free skills for young people around the world. Now, in a program that we call Skills Challenge, and I treat all of you to check on our website, www.qsimpact.org, to just see how the Skills Challenge is about. It's a beautiful thing where young people learn about gaming, designing, etc. And we do the Global Day of Action, and that's what we've gathered here today. This year, our focus is on plastics, and that's why Ezekiel is here to talk more about us. And of course, what is the essence of not recognizing young people for the impact they make in the community? In fact, positive impact. So we recognize young people for their impact they make in the community through awards, through scholarships, and then through different, things that you can talk about that excite young people. This year, the award is coming off in London, and we entreat all of you to check on our website for young
That's what I
people.
was looking for. I don't
See how you can apply. We provide scholarship for young people, and then for the scholarship, just check on our website too. As long as you make impact in your community, for example, cleaning, and then following what Ezekiel is going to teach you, are able to just win on our scholarship. There are 7 scholarships amounting to about 50,000 US dollars. And then the interesting thing is you can use all the scholarship in any part of the world you are. Let me tell you some brief facts. Every year, we have about 4,800 young people, on our platform at the moment. That's what I'm saying. So we have mobilized about 4,800 young people. We have a footprint in over 87 countries around the world. So it means that we are working with different people around the world. And then on our website, www.qsimpact.org, we have about 23,000 plus unique visitors every year. And that's exciting. So we are glad to have you part of our family and a global family. We have 50,000 US dollars scholarship for 7 young people annually. And the scholarship is for everyone, as long as you make impact in your community, you read about what it matters and how you apply for it. In fact, you can have access to the scholarship. And then again, we have over 40 councils across the world. If you are on this call and you're not in any of our councils, please talk to me after this call. Councils are young people come together to make changes in your community, and it's exciting. You build network, and then you become part of a great change. And again, the young people that we work with in over 87 countries in every year are able to, for example, last year and what we've collected in the past, we've spent about 34,000 hours volunteering to make the world a better place. Our presence is felt highly in Malawi, Pakistan, Ghana, Nigeria, India, USA, just to mention but a few. Now, the Global Day of Action, what is it? And why have you met on this call? And why do you have to invite people for this call? And why do you want to take action? We are working with over 87 countries or young people from 87 countries around the world. Now, you want to create a plastic-free future. Imagine a world where the world is polluted. And that is not for me to just give you all the facts. Ezekiel will be going into that shortly in a minute or two. Now, the Global Day of Action is a yearly challenge where young people are being mobilized to take a unique action. Now, for a specific purpose that is related to an SDG. This year, as I said, we are focusing on plastics. Now, the name says Global Day of Action. That means that we take action just in a day. We have a period space. So from now till from now till we have the awards, you can read more about that. You can take any action anytime. So this year we are looking at cracking down on plastic pollution, which is in line with the United Nations Environmental Program or focus for the year. What do we want? We want to empower and mobilize over 1,000 youth worldwide. And Ezekiel has been doing this over time, and then he's going to be a very good resource for us. I hope you all learn from Ezekiel too. We want to educate over 2,000 young people around the world. How do you do this? Ezekiel will tell you that. And then we want to build capacity of all our 40 councils around the world to take action. And I know Wanda is here. He's a council president and he's coming to learn more to take actions. We want to have partnership with global experts and leaders in this space. After this call, I would like all of you to connect with Ezekiel on LinkedIn, connect with him through an email so that you can learn much from him. And then, of course, there is an award for the winner who is able to collect a lot of plastic, who is able to make actions through recycling, through advocacy, and etc. And that is why we have met here as part of the Global Day of Action this year. Now, after this slide, I'm just giving over to Ezekiel to tell us more. Now, how can you participate in the Global Day of Action? You can host an awareness section as we are doing, so you can take all the materials we have. If you visit our website, www.kysimpact.org, for young people, go to Global Day of Action. Every material is there for you to have access to it. You can host an awareness section like this, invite young people and talk to them. You can host a cleanup event, and then it will interest you to know that Ezekiel, in the past, over the weekend in Malawi, in Nigeria, and then in Kigali, we had our councils taking up cleanup events. So in Nigeria, it was in University of Ibadan, and in Rwanda, it was in Kigali. And then, of course, tomorrow we're having a cleanup exercise in Ghana here, and then we're excited to join. This is what we expect all of you to be joining. Now, after you've done that, you can upload an impact report. You can visit our website. If you don't know how to do this, please get in touch with me. You're supposed to do this before 4th November, and then you would be crowned as a plastic cleanup hero. And then I'm sure Ezekiel's information will do much more for you too. Now, what does it mean to win a plastic hero or plastic cleanup hero? Now, almost every young person is going to take a part of this event, but we're going to award the winner at the Reimagine Education Awards in London on December 10th. And that is what we want you to be part of. Now you will receive a badge and a certificate to showcase your achievement, which is from a global organization or a global charity. You're going to be featured in the QS Insights magazine. It's a big magazine, and I tell you what, you don't want to miss this opportunity. We have a dedicated blog post for you and a social media shout out to tell you or tell the world what you've done, and that's what we're excited to have you. Today, I have Ezekiel going to talk to you. Ezekiel is a young, energetic young man, and then he's doing a lot. Let me tell you about Ezekiel before I give him the opportunity to present. He's the executive coordinator and then of strategic youth network for development. He will tell you more about that. In 2020, he won the Goldman Environmental Prize, and for Africa, he chairs the Youth in Natural Resources and Environmental Governance platform. His knowledge has impacted over 50,000 young people. He's a strong climate activist. And you don't want to miss conversations like this for free. He's not charging you. You're going to learn from him. And I'm excited to have him here and then to talk to us about what plastic pollution means and how we can take action. Ezekiel, can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Very well. So Ezekiel, over to you. If you can hear me, the conversation is yours.
All right. Thank you very much, Confidence, for setting the tone for this conversation. And I'm glad, that you took time to walk us through some of the exciting work that is coming up. So thank you so much. And I want to say thank you to you and your team for this wonderful opportunity. Yes. Like Confidence said, I work at SYND. So SYND basically is a youth-oriented NGO that promotes youth inclusion in the governance of our natural resources and environmental sector. Okay, all right. So let's jump to the next slide.
Okay.
Somewhere outside.
So sorry.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
So at SYND, we're working for thematic areas, which are climate change, biodiversity, forestry, and then energy. Next slide. Next slide. Okay, so yeah. So in terms of our work approach, it's a two-pronged approach. We have what we call the community level advocacy and then the policy level advocacy. And when we say community level advocacy, basically it's about raising awareness by developing educational materials and publications, what we popularly call the I&C materials, information, education, and communication materials. The reason being that our government usually come out with very complex, report policies. Sometimes they are 200 pages, 300 pages, and the average young person may not be able to read, especially those in the communities. So we try to simplify those documents so they can appreciate the government. We also work with local assemblies in Ghana. Just like in Kenya, they have counties. In Ghana, we have what we call the district assemblies or the municipal assemblies. So we try to work with them, closely so they can also ensure that young people are also participating in the local governance process through the development of activities and implementation. And in Ghana, we have what we call the medium-term development plans. So every assembly is supposed to develop that 4-year plan. So in developing that plan, we want to ensure that people in the community are also participating so they can become active agents in the process. And out of the medium-term plans, the assemblies have their annual action plan. So every year, there's an action plan. And that could be an entry point for every advocate. If you're looking for an activity, if you want to do any community engagement, one of the things you can do is to go to your assembly and ask for their annual plans. So you can go to the annual plans and then maybe choose an activity that you can do as your contribution, at the local level. So that's one of the approach we use to ensure that the youth are also involved in the local governance work. And then we have the policy level advocacy. So that involves the development of policy briefs, position papers, fact sheets, to contribute or influence policy. We appreciate or recognize that one way by which you can influence policy is to speak the language of policymakers. And for policymakers, one way to get their attention is to develop papers, that meet the expectation. Sometimes it's quite difficult, it's quite challenging for a young person to do that. But given that it could be a way to get their attention, we are also compelled to build our capacity to ensure that at least the young people can also capture that information and in a certain way or format that will appeal to policymakers and have their issues in a well indicated. So if you can just touch the yes. So we publish this to inform policy work, and then we also conduct surveys and research to inform and enrich policy engagement. Because as young people or working with young people, we also want to inform policy. So we do research, we do surveys, and then we can use the findings to contribute to conversation. So at least we are ensuring that the voices and concerns of young people are also factored in our national developmental agenda. Yeah, thank you. So next slide, please. Yeah, so in terms of our strategy, at SYND, we have two main approach or strategic approach. One is a youth-led advocacy, and the second one is a youth-led solutions. So in terms of advocacy, we do climate justice campaigns, creating awareness, it's advocacy work. And then we have the good governance, which means that to promote good governance, it is important to involve young people in the process, especially when that has been clearly accepted and defined at all levels. When you follow global conversations, the COP meetings and international meetings, if you read their outcome documents, one of the things they keep saying is that it is always important to involve women, men, and young people in decision-making process. So what it means is that at the global level, it's acknowledged that it is important to involve young people. When it comes to Africa, the regional level, the African Youth Charter, in fact, Article 11 of the Charter says that it is important or the youth have a right to participate in the decision-making process. So in Africa, the Charter gives us the right to ensure that our voices are heard. So at the regional level, indeed, it is clearly defined. In Ghana's own national youth policy from 2022 to 2032, I think, also indicates clearly that the youth must be allowed to co-create, their decision and not to be made on their behalf. So it means that at the global level, at the African level, at the national level, the voices of young people are clearly expected to participate, to be seen in the government. So we ensure that our voices are heard at all levels. So we do so much advocacy to create space for the youth to participate. And then beyond just advocacy, we are also promoting what we call the youth-led solutions. Over the years, we've seen that advocacy alone can't solve the problem because we often assume that government has the answers. But we also realize that, yes, young people may also have the answers. So how can we also create our own answers or create our own solution? And therefore, that led us to a couple of interventions. What you have is the young green entrepreneurs. So these are young people who have business ideas. They have ideas to create businesses, green businesses. We're not waiting for government to create. These are young people who are creating. They're becoming creative. They're becoming innovative. So it's a youth-led solution. And then we have the youth in farmers in agroecology. So young people who are into farming. How can we ensure that we are detecting the pace when it comes to agric, development or expansion or growth in Africa. So it's not just advocacy, but also promoting youth-led solutions. And I think that is one of the ways by which the youth can have their voices heard and they can also have their places well established in the conversation. So on plastic conversation specifically, these are some statistics that I try to pull from different sources to give us a fair idea as to the issues we are dealing with. I mean, that the plastic is not just something simple, but it comes with a whole lot of problems that we have to be very mindful of. We are being told that about 8 million of plastic pollution make their way into the ocean every day. And it's becoming very obvious in our part of the country. If you go to a seashore or by the sea, you are likely to see one plastic or the other. So that's one clear indication. And we're also being told that about 12 million tons of plastic is dumped into the ocean every year. 80% of all studied marine debris is plastic. So if you go into the sea and you see the debris, the debt, 80% plastic by IUC and ASA 2020. And then 5.25 trillion macro and microplastics may now be floating into the open ocean, weighing up to almost 269,000 tons. Again, that is very frightening, which we have to be, concerned about. Beyond that, when it comes to life, ocean life, or aquatic life, 100,000 marine mammals and turtles and 1 million seabirds are killed by marine plastic pollution every year by the UK government as of 2018. So I'm not too sure what the data says as of 2024, is likely to go up because the pollution is increasing. And then we're also being told that 1 in 3 fish caught for human consumption now contains plastic. We are being told to eat fish because it contains plastic, it contains protein. So now, I'm not too sure. In addition to protein, we are now going to inhale or take, microplastic, all because of plastic pollution. So that is one thing we have to be very mindful of. It says 1 out of 3. So somebody said that if you are eating kinky and you have 3 fishes, it means one of them is likely to contain, microplastic. So you may have to ballot and see which one of them will contain us and don't eat that one. I'm not too sure how we can do that, but it tells us that we are all likely to be affected by that. And 90% of plastic is made from fossil fuels, unfortunately. And then 2.5 tons of carbon dioxide is generated by producing 1 ton of plastic. So look at the equation. 1 ton of plastic releases 2.5 tons of carbon dioxide. So we are contributing to carbon emission and also causing climate change in our world. So this gives us a fair idea. The different research have been conducted on how plastic waste is causing havoc. So in our own small way as an organization, we have to put in some measures or take some steps to also help address plastic pollution. So what we see here is one of our activities and cleanup exercises that we did with Zoom Lion, I think Zacol, Zoil, some of the other NGOs. We all came together to go to the beach, to gather waste, to gather plastics, just as a way, to address plastic waste. And I'm happy that Confidence mentioned that, some have been done in Nigeria, also in Malawi, and even tomorrow, they intend to do a cleanup exercise in Ghana. So these are all ways or steps we can all take to address plastic pollution, in our country, if for nothing at all, to at least address some of the issues I mentioned earlier on. Beyond the plastic waste or the cleanup exercise, we have also, or we do also engage school children. We have this project known as the Children for Climate Action. So we focus on children, preschool or primary level, from class 1 to class 6 and some junior high school. So we take them through some training, how they can recycle or reuse plastic. So they can, instead of taking a plastic bottle and throw it away, they can actually recycle, the plastic, and so that we can sustain or reduce plastic waste in the environment. And sometimes we take for granted that young people or children can become great influencers. They can, and if we can't change our leaders today because of, habits that they've acquired over the years, at least we can start with the young generation, the children, the older generation. So this is a conscious effort to have children to become very conscious, of the need not to pollute the environment. So these are some of the steps we've taken to ensure that our children are also not left behind. So this is also another intervention we have, known as the Young Green Entrepreneurs, which I mentioned earlier on. So this is one of the entrepreneurs that we have. So you can see him weighing the plastic bottles. So what they do is that they go around people's houses to collect the plastic bottles. They collect them. And then the first picture on the left is that they weigh the plastic bottles, and then they try to incentivize those who went around to collect the bottles, or the owners of the bottles. It is a way, it's not much, it's not very significant, but it's a way to motivate or incentivize people to keep the bottles in their house instead of throwing them away indiscriminately. So they come, they weigh, and they give you something, for being able to keep the plastics for them. Yeah, so you can see the plastics being collected from schools. So that's a tricycle that goes to the houses, that goes to the companies to collect those plastic bottles. So on the right, you see those, vast number of plastic bottles that have been collected, So somebody will ask, so what do they do with all these bottles? After collecting all these tons of plastic bottles, what do they do with them? I mean, do they burn them? Do they throw them away? Do they keep them somewhere? So what happens to them? The next slide will give us a fair idea on what they do with that. Yeah, so what they do is that once they collect these plastic bottles, they then hand them over or sell them to some companies or private companies who in turn, I hear they mash them or they crash them into, pieces, and then use them to manufacture plastic chairs, plastic table, plastic spoons, plastic bowls. So all that you see here, as a result of the plastic bottle. So it tells us that if you're able to work around things consciously, we can actually find solutions to the problem. So you look at the value chain, those who are collecting the plastics, those in their homes, those who are going around to collect them, and the companies that are also using them and to melt them. Yes, that's the word. They are melted and molded into reusable domestic items. So that is a clear example on how we can address plastic waste. And this is a business, all right? And I can mention that, so that's a business. So imagine having young people doing this kind of business, a group of young people collecting the plastic, a group doing the sorting, another group, doing the melting and the molding. And we are creating jobs for young people. So that's what we say youth-led solution. But in spite of all this, the awareness creation, in spite of converting the plastic waste into reusable, home items, the problem still exists. We are doing our best, but the problem still exists. All right. So now the question is, how do we deal with this problem? So the next slide will give us my thoughts or my proposal on what can be done, or why we have to really fight the plastic waste or the plastic menace. So there are two main reasons, two core reasons why I think we have to deal with plastic. One is because plastic is increasingly choking the ocean. All right. Over 12 million tons of plastic is dumped into the ocean every single year, and that is very worrying. Again, we have countless fish, birds, turtle, whales, and marine creatures that are killed every year by mistaking plastic for food, all right, or entangled in discarded fishing gear across the country. I watched one documentary where I think some scientists went to the sea and they found this sea turtle that had this what do you call it? Straw. You know, the straw has actually entered the nostril of one of a sea turtle. So then, you know, so they want to actually save this sea turtle. They wanted to help the sea turtle. So they had this, I think it was a plier that they held it with. They held the straw with a plier, and they had to pull it out, you know, and you could see blood coming out of the nose of the sea turtle. You know, you could see the pain, you know, you could see the frustration, the animal, you know, for no wrong of it, you know, it didn't cause that, but human behavior, you know, is even affecting marine life. So that is how serious this has become, that plastic is increasingly choking the ocean. So that's one main reason why we need to tackle the plastic menace. So the second reason on the second slide, if you could jump on the second slide, is because plastic is contributing to global warming. So if you are fighting climate change today, we are talking about reducing carbon emissions, then we must also tackle the plastic waste, because extracting and creating these plastics emit most amounts of greenhouse gases. And therefore, it's also estimated that just the extraction of these fossil fuels and their transportation to plastic factories emits 1.5 to 12.5 million metric tons of greenhouse gases. And we're talking about carbon or emission reduction. So if we want to achieve our climate ambition or our climate targets, we must equally address the plastic waste, you know, menace. So if for nothing at all, these two main reasons are what we need to fight aggressively against plastic, you know, waste, affecting choking the ocean and contributing to global warming. So some key recommendations that I also want to share how to address this situation, then I can bring my presentation to an end. So my presentation or my recommendation is in two ways. One is behavioral change, which has to do with human behavior, what we can do in our own small way to help address or tackle the plastic pollution. So one is the usage of glass or metal containers instead of plastic, all right? So if you want to have containers, we encourage that you must have glass or metal containers. Number two, I also want to encourage the need to use reusable coffee or teacups. Those of us who like taking tea, you know, we can carry our teacups along with us. So wherever we are, we can actually have our tea. Instead of using plastic cups all the time, you know, the more we use the plastic cups, the more we increase or create, you know, plastic pollution. So we can also look at washable bamboo nappies, you know, so if we want to use nappies, reuse bamboo, you know, once you use, you wash and you can use them again. It's a way to reduce the dependency on plastics. And then we also have reusable drink bottles like we all carry. I have my bottle here that I carry along as much as possible, you know, so at least I can reduce the dependency on plastic bottles. So when I get my, what do you call it, what we fetch water from, those dispensers, you know, I just fill it up and then I move on. And if you also observe, some institutions like banks are also providing dispensers, you know, so at least when you go to the bank, you have your bottle, you fill it, you drink it, and then you move on, you know, as a way to address some of these situations. And then you must also recycle paper or bamboo plates, carry reusable shopping bags. Somehow in Ghana, I mean, the listing you buy, you get a black polythene. The listing you buy, you get a black polythene, you know. To avoid that, you can go with your shopping bag, you know, whatever you buy, you put it in your bag, you know. I was in Kenya some time ago, and I went to a shop to buy some biscuits. I forgot to pick a bag, you know, and they had to give me a bag, but they were not giving me plastic. They were giving me a proper paper bag. And guess what? They had to charge me, you know, that it was more painful to me than anything else. I said, I could have avoided this cost or use that money to buy something else, you know, but because I failed to bring a bag and they had to give me a bag, I had to pay for it, you know. So it's a way to reduce or to ensure that people carry bags, you know, for shopping. And then say no to plastic straws, all right? So I think it's a call we can all, action can all take. That if you go to a place, a public space, to buy some drink, no matter when they are serving, they bring your drink, and then they add plastic straw. I think you can tell them, oh, we don't want the plastic straw. So if you all start doing that over time, they'll stop buying the plastic straw, and that will also help reduce, the need for them to produce plastic straws. And then that's a behavioral side that will encourage human beings or people to actually adjust their lifestyle or their way of living or their habits. The other set of recommendation is based on laws and relevant policies. So we are also promoting or calling for the need to ban single-use plastics. And some countries have done that so well, like Kigali, where it could be a government policy or a government, regulation to ban single-use plastics. So we can encourage our government to push that agenda to ensure that that can also help address plastic waste. And also to enforce the polluter pay principle, because those who are polluting must be forced to pay for the pollution. So that levy, that tax can be used to address the environmental pollution. And then we can also incentivize initiatives on plastic alternatives. All right. So if you have companies that are producing plastic alternatives, like using bamboo, using different materials, government can incentivize them by giving them maybe some tax holidays, some tax incentives, to boost their business, so that they can grow that aspect of the business and have an alternative for plastic, as a way to address some of these things. So that can be a very deliberate policy from government. And the final recommendation that I think can also help address is that government should support youth-led interventions against plastic use. So there has to be a deliberate policy from government that, okay, to ensure that we are addressing this, there has to be some incentive, some motivation, for young people who are bringing innovative ways to address the plastic waste. And once we do that, I think that it will also encourage more young people to go into it. I mean, isn't it amazing that ever since we started this, the Guinness Book of Records, or that competition they have, it doesn't come with monetary reward somehow, but people suddenly are doing things, the cookathon. Somebody can say, I can cook for 5 hours, and then they get just to be recognized. It doesn't bring money, but somebody was dancing, want to dance, Recently, somebody said, I read that somebody hugged a tree for 21 hours. I don't know the sense in that, but it wants to be popular, okay? But if some of these things are becoming very motivating, incentivizing, then let's create a deliberate, system that can encourage more young people to go into interventions that will also help address plastic waste. Then collectively, we can all find a way to address the situation. So basically, those would be my few thoughts and my few recommendations on how we can all together work towards addressing the plastic waste menace. Thank you very much. And then for your time and attention, over to you, Confidence.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. We appreciate your time. You've actually hit on almost every bit of detail that we are supposed to know. I'm sure our young people who have joined the call across the world have questions for you. Please, if you have a question, please go inside the chat. Okay, Vivian has a hand up. If you can't talk, please go inside the chat, put your question there, and I'll be glad to read that for you. Vivian, please go ahead and ask your question.
Hi. Thank you very much for that insightful presentation. But I don't want to really ask a question, but I just wanted to issue a little disclaimer. So about the guy who hacked the tree, it wasn't for fame and it wasn't because of the popularity they were going to get. Actually hacked the tree because he wanted to plant the number of trees that will come out of the number of hours he was going to hack. So it was towards climate change, actually. So I think he's not, because of the hours he made, he's going to plant 1,600 and something trees for this climate change issue. So it wasn't actually for popularity. I just wanted to issue that. Yeah.
Thank you, Vivian. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. Thanks for that correction. I never heard about that. Wow, that's interesting.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know. It wasn't, that part wasn't really projected like just the Guinness records. You see, we like to put emphasis on certain things that do not matter instead of talking about the one that really matters. That was what went out. So it's no fault of yours. I also heard about it like that. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Vivian, for the clarification. Okay, Kukuvi Antonio. So you can just mention your country and then ask the question too really quick. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I joined the session quite late, but it was an insightful one. My question is just to find out, so what are some of the impediments facing some of the policies against plastics? I think we have some policies in place, but it looks as if the policies are not enough to take care of the pollution when it comes to plastics. So I just want to find out from Mr. Ezekiel what some of the impediments are. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that question. Well, the impediments are, when it comes to policy level, the impediments basically are non-enforcement of laws. Someone said in Ghana, we have all the wonderful laws and policies, but implementation is always the problem. The reason being that those who are supposed to enforce the law are rather perpetrators, of the crime or the issue. So that becomes a bit difficult. So that is why we are looking for options, because we can't keep lamenting all the time. If there's a way by which we can help address or look for alternative, then it's better we focus on that alternative. That's why I'm saying that if there's a way to incentivize those who are doing the good things, those who are providing ideas, those who are providing solutions, let's support them. And maybe when that picks up, those who are doing the bad may change the bad and join those doing the good. After all, it's because of profit. If I can make profit and if I can change and still make profit, then I will change. But if there's no guarantee that I'll make profit, it'll be hard for me to change. So normally when it comes to the private sector, for them it's profit first before environment or human life. So we want to look at the alternatives, if there are some incentives, because even in Ghana, companies come to Ghana and say that, or they engage government that we want to come to your country and create business. So give us 5 years or 10 years tax holidays, because when we create a company or we open our organization, we are going to employ young people, and the government sees that as an opportunity, to give them tax holidays. So if we are able to do that for foreign companies, then why can't we also support, young Ghanaians, young people in Ghana who also have those business ideas, so that we can solve our own problem, as young people. That's why I believe that let's push the youth-led solution. Little by little, we'll get there, because after the laws, we have them, So the problem is about the implementation of those laws and policies. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. And Benjamin, before you come in, so there's a question here for you, Ezekiel. Now, you've mentioned about your organization. So there's a question asking if you can actually tell us what major activities or tasks you've taken and what had inspired you to do that?
Well, I'm not sure that the one asking joined us, when I started. I mentioned some of the things we've done, the beach cleanup exercise. We also have a specific project known as the Children for Climate Action. So these are children in primary school that we are engaging on how to reuse plastic bottles or plastic waste. That's our intervention. That's our contribution in our own small way. Again, we also have a project known as the Young Green Entrepreneurs Project. And one of them is using plastics, so along the value chain, they pick the plastics and give it to some of the companies who will melt and mold them into household usable items. So that's what we are doing in our own small way as an organization, as far as managing plastic waste is concerned. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Benjamin, please go ahead and ask your question. Mention your country and go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much, Confident. I'm Benjamin Ofosu-Kwame from Ghana. And my question is kind of 2 in 1. So first, Mr. Ezekiel mentioned something about companies being profit-oriented, and he has maybe not taken initiative to reduce their plastic production. So I have been in a conversation with a friend over some time now, and he always raises the issue of alternative solutions not being, how should I say it, positive or not being so good for those who are less privileged because they do not have the money to go in for the alternative solutions, like going in for glass and metals instead of plastics. And companies are also in and producing these plastics because of its convenience and ease of access. So what do you think would be the other form of motivation? Because incentivizing people to also, how do I say it, provide these plastic waste for recycling, reuse will also in some way encourage more form of pollution and production, because they know in the end I can collect them, send it for some money. So we still need to pollute with them. Thank you.
Yeah, so thanks, Ben, for that question. From my own personal observation, and that is something that I have been finding a way around, okay? There's a saying that there's always power in unity, okay? It is very easy to negotiate and get what you want if you go as a block. If I say a block, like a team, like a force, as against one company or one individual. That is why, even when it comes to Ghana, people like the trade union, because of who they are, they have the numbers so they can negotiate. We have the, what do you call it? The transport owners. So even when the government wants to increase fuel and they threaten that they're going to increase lorry fare, they have to go for some negotiation because they have the numbers so they can negotiate. When it comes to business, we have the AGI, Association of Ghana Industries. They have the numbers so they can negotiate for taxes. When you talk about within aside AGI, we have PEF, Private Enterprise Federation. So it's also a collective of businesses that have come together so they can negotiate as a block. So the question is, when it comes to young people, how do we negotiate? You can't go as one person. I mean, nobody will take it serious. So perhaps what we can do is to find a way to also be organized and come as a block, as a team. So if you have young people, 50 organizations, 100, we coming together and make a case, then we stand a stronger chance of getting what we want than trying to go, as individuals. So for me, I think that's one of the clear ways by which we can get our issues out there and get the support we need to run our business. And secondly, also, even when it comes to transition, some companies, I know it's quite expensive to transition immediately. So some are moving gradually from plastic to metals or wood, I think I mentioned earlier on. So to the extent that I think one, I don't remember which company, whether one of the beverage company, they to justify their contribution or how they're managing plastic waste, they said that they have even reduced the thickness of the bottle, all right? So the plastic bottle is no longer hard as it used to. You can even crash it, at a go. So that means they have reduced the density of the quantum of material used in producing the plastic bottle. It is still plastic though, but if you look at the content, it doesn't have enough plastic as it used to have. So for them, they are transition, so it's a gradual process, so over time, they may do away with the plastic. So it's not too, what do you call it, a straightforward answer. But people are employing different ways. So the plastic, as you mentioned, the bottle, the metals can be expensive. That's why others are looking at other options. Do the same plastic bottles, but now reduce the amount of plastic, so you can even degrade, faster or quicker as compared to the normal. I admit your issues that indeed there are problems with cost for people who want to shift, but let's see what we can do in our small way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. I'm sure that's very insightful to you, Benjamin, to address your question. Now, Ezekiel, we have young people who are taking up action. So, for example, all these people on this call are people wanting to take action in their own small way. They necessarily wouldn't have a lot of funds. They necessarily wouldn't have a lot of money to do this. So, in just 1 minute, what practical ways do you think they can actually take to mobilize funds, to mobilize people, so that they can actually do something small? It can be a cleanup exercise, it can be taking up a recycling project, or even an advocacy section that they want to run.
I think that we have always used money as a way to discourage ourselves. People have wonderful ideas, but we say, I don't have money. So once I don't have money, I can't take any action, or I don't know where to get money, so I can't do anything. I think that there are some entry points which are called the low-hanging fruit that we can take advantage of. And I'll give you just 1 or 2 examples that you can think about. In my submission, I mentioned that the assemblies have their 4-year medium-term plan. And after the 4-year medium-term plan, they have their annual action plan, okay? So your first step, you don't have money, but you have an idea. So you go to assembly and inquire or ask for the action plan and see what they want to do as far as those actions are concerned. If it may involve creating awareness among market women or going to schools to educate the children on, plastic pollution. So you can actually take those steps, to go to schools and educate the people and even report back to the assembly that I've done ABCD as my contribution to the action plan of the assembly. And guess what? Your activity will be captured in assembly's report, and every assembly is supposed to collate what they call the annual action plan, or APR, annual action plan, or annual progress report, which they always submit to the NDPC, National Development Planning Commission. And NDPC is also mandated to every year publish Ghana's annual progress report. So those reports are there. So imagine if what you have done is captured in those reports, and that report can be used to source even funding from partners and from donors who will see that your action is actually contributing to the work of government, because donors often give money to support people's action that will contribute to government's action, and not to do something that is outside the plan, because over time they want to see if your intervention can be measured or can be tracked. So that's one window of opportunity or entry point. The second point is, and this is a training that I am here to have for my young, for my youth groups, how to track investment, especially from the public finance institutions like the World Bank and the EFDB. If you go across the country, you will see different projects being funded by the World Bank, by EFDB, and the rest. But under normal circumstances, in those projects, before they are implemented, there are supposed to be some consultation. So the question is, were there consultation? Were you, as a member of the committee, involved, or were you engaged? If no, why? Because ignorance, they say, is not an excuse. But it's never late than never. So what you can do is that if you go, for example, on the AFDB website or the World Bank website, there's a way where you can capture all projects that have been funded, and that can be the entry point that, oh, we got $200 million to put up this plant to manage plastic waste. What has happened to that plant? We want to investigate, we want to evaluate. Were there challenges? Were there, so from the youth perspective, so that action alone can also help you get support to also continue some of these interventions. So there are a number of ways which are called the low-hanging fruit, all right? You may not have the money, but you can use the existing structure to have your foot in there. Once your foot is in there, over time, you can get some funding. And let me end by saying that normally, if you're looking for funding and you tell a donor, oh, I'm looking for $1,000 to go and clean up, this environment. Okay, they may say that, okay, we'll try and give you some money. But if you go and say, oh, we have mobilized 500 young people, they are contributing their energy, their time. We need $1,000 just to provide, maybe tools, wheelbarrows, what do you call it? Those rigs and the rest, to contribute to what we are doing already. Because donors or funders or partners are likely to support an intervention where you have your own, what you call a sweat capital. So sweat capital is what you are bringing on board, that, okay, I've brought this. We are 100 young people. We have the energy, we have the time, but we need support to buy tools. Then they know that at least you have brought yourself with your energy. All you want is the tools, so they can support with the tools. Then that makes you, become attractive. But if you just go, I need money, without showcasing what you're bringing on board, they're not likely support you. So the sweat capital bit is very important. Yeah, over to you, Confidence.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. I mean, sweat capital is important, and Zoya is saying that perfect term for those working on NGOs. I mean, you are super right. When you talk to young people around the world, and every time you talk to them, they ask you, I don't have money, how do I start? But the point is, even the World Bank doesn't even give anyone money for free. You just have to show a cause why you need the money. So I think you've explained the points very well, and it makes a lot of sense, I mean, to me too. Now, Ezekiel, we are about closing and we have about 5 minutes more to go. We just want to say that if anyone has a question, please go ahead and drop in the chat and we'll be glad to answer you. So, Antonio, you have a question again. Can you do that really quick?
Okay. I was just asking whether we'll get the recording because some of us joined late and it will be nice getting the recording to listen to the whole session again.
Amazing. We are going to give you the recording, so you don't have to worry about that. Now, Ezekiel, before your final words, they're asking how they can join your organization. You want to comment on that?
Yes, we have a platform known as the Youth in Natural Resources and Environmental Governance platform. So it's an open platform. Every young person working on environmental action. The whole idea is that we want to ensure that wherever you live across the country, you have the chance to participate in your own small way. So yes, the platform is open for any young person who has interest in supporting environmental actions or environmental protection interventions.
Thank you very much, Ezekiel. So Zoya is saying that there is another dimension. A lot of companies these days have corporate social responsibility policies, and I would like to engage in different social projects, track those and apply for them to support your project. And that's very true. So for young people meeting on this call, calling from India, Malawi, Kenya, anywhere, we are excited you joined us on this conversation. We had this conversation with Ezekiel. You can connect with him on LinkedIn if you want to. And we're excited you are here. Now, there's one thing we want to make mention about is that you have to take part in what we call the Global Day of Action. Are you wanting to collect waste in your community or just support a group? It can be just coming up with a project with just 2 or 3 people or even thousands of people, but you want to start small, building your skills, leadership, and then taking actions. How do you do this? So we are giving this opportunity for young people. Once you are able to set up a campaign, you are able to collect waste. If you don't know how to do it, please reach out to us or me, and I can help you to support you to do that. You can visit our website, www.kosimpact.org, look for young people, and then look for awards. So we are having an award called the Plastic Cleanup Hero. Now you should apply before 4th of November, 2024. Now, I've mentioned earlier what comes with winning this award. I want to just state again. Now, if you win this award, you're going to have a mention in London at the Reimagine Education Award, which is also the QS Award taking place there. You're going to receive a badge and a certificate to show your achievement. You're going to be featured in the QS Insights magazine. If you don't know what the QS Insights magazine is, please after this call, Google it and you know how big it is to be featured in that magazine. And you're going to have a dedicated blog post and a social media shout out. Now, the most important thing is that on 11 December 2024, wherever you are around the world, no matter the event you've taken place already, we are mobilizing ourselves again on 11 December to also take actions in our community to show our solidarity as to what plastic can do to the world and how we want to commit our energy and time to it. Zoya has shared all the links that you need in the chat. Please check www.kosimpact.org and check on awards. If you have any other concern, please make sure you reach out to us or any member of the team, and we will be very glad to support or help you in this cause. Now, the picture you see here is one of our community members who took an action last Saturday in Rwanda, and we are glad he did this. So, Ezekiel, do you have some final words for us?
Well, I mean, I think these days, if you are talking, it's a bit difficult. I want to say it's possible, but it may sound very political, and but on a serious note, I just want to say that every young person, must have the courage, that we have the solution, we have what it takes. If we don't like the narrative, let's change the narrative. Okay, let's not put our hope in our leaders. They are doing their bit, but we can't put our hope in them. As young people, we have the mandate and the power and the ability to change the narrative. So let's work together to bring the change we need. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So thank you for joining this call. We want you to follow us on LinkedIn, on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook at KOS Impact. You can follow us for more opportunities, scholarships, awards, and then ask more about what we do. We have the skills challenge coming up. We have the awards coming up. We have the GDA coming up. It's free of charge. You don't have to pay anything, and we're excited to have you on board. So thank you so much for coming. Zoya, do you have some final words to say? Hello, Zoya.
Yeah, I'm here, just unmuting myself. Thank you, Confidence. Thank you, Ezekiel, and everyone. Very interesting. I must say, I did not expect it would be so insightful. So thanks once again. Ezekiel, there are some interesting cases you've mentioned and practices, which I'm sure quite a few of our members will hopefully start implementing. And also, Confidence, I don't know if you've noticed in the chat, we almost have NUQS Impact Council Malawi. We have new people who are not a part of the community yet, who are joining for the first time, and hopefully inspired by Ezekiel will be able to create something truly impactful. One thing, and I'm wearing a QS hat as an employee of a company, but also I'm a part of the charity. One thing I'd like to mention is that, there is some background noise coming in. The activities, however small, however little, the actions that you're undertaking, keep track of them. They are important, not just, as Ezekiel rightly said, to show that you've invested your energy and thank you, energy and time in the project, but also when the time comes to apply for a grant, a scholarship, another degree, or another job, all these little pieces make a big solid foundation for your success. And one thing, unfortunately, we've noticed that lots of young people globally are doing amazing things, but they're pretty shy about sharing their stories about these things with the world. And that's where I would truly like to encourage those of you who have participated or are only starting to think of something like this, to share your stories and also to pick up inspiration from QS Impact reports. And hopefully they will give you some food for thought. Hopefully we'll see some coming after the session. So, oh, inspired by Ezekiel, we've done X, Y, Z. And yeah, and I'm looking forward to some wonderful applications at the QS Impact Awards in December. So if anyone is going to be in London in a couple of months, please do shout out and join the session. Ezekiel, thank you so much for joining us again. And Confidence, great sharing, very smooth. So yes, I'm looking forward to the Impact Reports update now.
Thank you very much, Zoya. It's a pleasure having you stay on the call. Thank you again for coming. I think we want to do a very quick exercise. You can put on your camera, you can take a very good picture, and we can call it an evening, a morning, and an afternoon. So let's put on our cameras. Thank you all for doing that. Thank you.